Nobody tells you this, but the system was never designed to make you rich. It was designed to make you just comfortable enough to keep showing up, just paid enough to survive, just tired enough not to question it. So you do what you were told. Get a job, work harder, chase promotions, increase your income. And yet, somehow, you're still stuck. Because here's the truth that flips everything. Rich people don't get rich from what they earn. They get rich from what they own. So the real question isn't, how do you make more money? It's this. Why are you still playing a game that was never built for you to win? Hey, I'm Brian, and I spend way too much time thinking about why some people work their entire lives and stay broke, while others quietly build wealth in the background. And the answer isn't effort. It's not intelligence either. It's structure. See, you've been trained to focus on income. Your paycheck, your salary, your next raise. But income is what you earn when you show up. Wealth is what earns for you when you don't. Completely different game. Take someone like Elon Musk. You think he's wealthy because of a salary? No. His wealth comes from ownership, equity, assets that grow whether he's working or sleeping. That's the shift. Because you can look rich and still be broke. Nice car, expensive phone, designer clothes, all signals, no substance. Meanwhile, the person building real wealth, you probably wouldn't even notice them. This is the trap. You've been sold the image of wealth instead of the system that creates it. And most financial advice makes it worse. Just budget better. Just be more disciplined. But willpower is a terrible long-term strategy. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So if you want a system that actually works, one that doesn't rely on you making perfect decisions every single day, you're in the right place. And if you think about money the way I'm about to break it down, hit subscribe, not as a favor to me, but as a form of peer review. Because this might be the highest return on time decision you make all week. So let's build the system. It's called the 20-60-10-10 framework. Simple, but dangerously effective. Because instead of asking you to be disciplined every day, it makes the right decision automatic. Here's how it works. 20% of everything you earn goes to growth. This is your escape plan. Investments, skills, anything that compounds over time. 60% covers your essentials. Rent, food, transport, the reality of your current life. 10% goes to stability. This is your buffer, your protection against chaos. The thing most people ignore until it's too late. And the final 10%? Enjoyment. Yes, enjoyment. Because if your system doesn't include a way to live, it will eventually break. Now here's why this matters. Most people try to build wealth with whatever is left over at the end of the month. Rich people do the opposite. They build wealth first, and then live on what remains. Same income, different structure, completely different outcome. And the reason this works at any level, whether you're earning a little or a lot, is because it scales. It's not about how much you make. It's about what your money is doing when it leaves your hands. This is where the shift happens. Not in your job, not in your next raise, but in the system you run every single day, whether you realize it or not. If you're new here and just subscribed, comment your name below. I read every comment and shout out new subscribers in my next video. I do appreciate you joining me on this finance journey. So let's build the system. It's called the 20-60-10-10 framework. Simple, but dangerously effective. Because instead of asking you to be disciplined every day, it makes the right decision automatic. Here's how it works. 20% of everything you earn goes to growth. This is your escape plan. Investments, skills, anything that compounds over time. 60% covers your essentials. Rent, food, transport, the reality of your current life. 10% goes to stability. This is your buffer, your protection against chaos. The thing most people ignore until it's too late. And the final 10%? Enjoyment. Yes, enjoyment. Because if your system doesn't include a way to live, it will eventually break. Now here's why this matters. Most people try to build wealth with whatever is left over at the end of the month. Rich people do the opposite. They build wealth first, and then live on what remains. Same income, different structure, completely different outcome. And the reason this works at any level, whether you're earning a little or a lot, is because it scales. It's not about how much you make. It's about what your money is doing when it leaves your hands. This is where the shift happens. Not in your job, not in your next raise, but in the system you run every single day, whether you realize it or not. Now let's talk about the part nobody gets excited about, but everyone eventually pays for ignoring. That 10%. Stability. This is your financial shock absorber. Because life doesn't care about your budget. Your car breaks down. You get sick. Your job disappears. And if you don't have a buffer, you don't just pause your progress. You go backwards. Fast. This is how people get trapped. One emergency turns into debt. Debt turns into interest. Interest turns into years of lost momentum. All because there was no protection in place. So here's the rule. You need at least 3 to 6 months of essential expenses saved. Not income. Expenses. If your monthly essentials are $1,000, your target is $3,000 to $6,000. Simple, clear, non-negotiable. And you build it the same way you build anything else. Consistently. That 10% isn't sitting there doing nothing. It's buying you resilience. It's the difference between a problem and a crisis. Because when something goes wrong, and it will, you don't panic. You don't reach for a credit card. You don't derail your entire system. You adjust. You handle it. You keep moving. And here's the mindset shift. This isn't just savings. This is control. Because broke people react to life. Wealthy people absorb it. Now we get to the silent killer. The thing that destroys more wealth than bad investments ever will. Lifestyle inflation. You make more, so you spend more. New job, better salary, and suddenly your life upgrades with it. Bigger apartment, nicer car, more expensive habits. It feels like progress, but it's not. It's a treadmill. Because your income went up, but your freedom didn't. Let me show you what this actually costs. Let's say you take on a $400 monthly car payment. Doesn't sound crazy, right? But over 10 years, that's $48,000 out of your pocket. Now at opportunity cost. If that same $400 was invested monthly with a modest return, you're looking at roughly $73,000. Gone. Not because you couldn't build wealth, but because you chose to look like you already had it. And this is the difference most people never see. The person leasing the luxury car is signaling success. The person quietly investing is building it. One gets attention, the other gets options. So what do you do instead? You lock your lifestyle and raise your investments. Every time your income increases, your standard of living stays mostly the same. But your 20%? That grows. That's how you break the cycle. Because real wealth isn't built by dramatic changes. It's built by what you refuse to upgrade. And once you understand that, you stop chasing the image and start building the reality. Now here's the part most people don't expect. You're allowed to enjoy your money. In fact, you have to. That final 10%, that's not a reward. It's not something you earn after suffering. It's structural. Because if your system feels like punishment, you will break it. Not eventually. Predictably. You'll restrict too hard. Then binge spend. Then feel guilty. Then start over. That cycle is why most people never stay consistent. So this 10% exists to protect you from yourself. But there's a rule. You spend it fully. And you spend it guilt-free. No second guessing. No, maybe I shouldn't. Because you already made the smart decision before this. Your growth is funded. Your essentials are covered. Your stability is intact. This is the only money you're allowed to spend without thinking. And here's the principle that makes it powerful. Spend on what you truly enjoy. Cut ruthlessly on what you don't. Not what impresses people. Not what social media tells you. What actually makes your life better. Because sustainable wealth isn't built on restriction. It's built on alignment. Now imagine this. You wake up, and your finances are not a source of stress anymore. Your bills are handled automatically. Your investments are growing in the background. Your safety net is sitting there untouched, ready. You're not checking your account with anxiety. You're not one emergency away from starting over. You have options. You can leave a job that drains you. You can take a risk on something better. You can say no without fear. Because your life is no longer dependent on a single paycheck. It's supported by a system. And over time, that system compounds. Quietly. Consistently. Inevitably. Until one day, you realize something has shifted. You're no longer working because you have to. You're working because you choose to. That's real wealth. not numbers on a screen. Freedom in your decisions. Real wealth isn't about what you show people. It's about what you don't have to tolerate anymore. If you want more thinking like this, subscribe and start building a system your future self can actually rely on.